So I believe we're ready to begin. Did I forget anything? Okay, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Vance, for introducing us and for inviting us, you and Jane. It's a great pleasure for us to join this huge conference online. That it is the TESOL International. It is very important for us to share what we did during our TechnoCLIL experience. TechnoCLIL is, okay, me and Letizia have been running this session for many years. And just to introduce for newcomers what TechnoCLIL is, it is a mixture of a CLIL, that is a content and language integrated learning, and it means a dual focus methodologies that aims at fostering both language competencies and delivery of content at the same time, and this is done with technical tools. This is why we created the title TechnoCLIL. We started in 2000.
Daniela, could you move your camera so it gets you? Yeah, that's it. That's right. Yeah.
That's okay. Okay, we started in 2014, and up to now we have had many sessions, as you can see, in the different years, many successful sessions. This is the reason why we created a wide community of TechnoCLILers. They also suggested us to collect all the materials and all the best practice that we had realized during all these different sessions. This is the reason why we also published a book on TechnoCLIL with an Italian publisher, Lesher. How is TechnoCLIL organized? As you can see, of course, we have the exploitation of potential of all the different technologies. As you can see, the different tools. It is run through different social networks, but most of all, it is implemented in a Moodle platform. We have a very active Facebook group. We have recorded all the sessions because we always invite experts from all over the world, and Vance and then were some of them, and then also we widespread the ideas and reflections also through Telegram and Twitter. So one of the most important things of our course is that we want to reflect on the process of our participants' training. That's why we always ask them to keep a diary of their learning experiences that is run for 5 weeks, as any massive online open course is set. And so they reflect on what they do. Of course, they are invited to share their ideas and reflection to a forum, a dedicated forum with different threads, but they also benefit for lots of open education resources that all first of all, as the two of us as coordinators, but all the participants share with them. And as you can see here, it is an example of some of the best practice realized by our participants through the course that has been collected on a Padlet, a digital blackboard, a digital board that is available and so you can see the different products that have testify how the participation was so active and involving. We had different moments, of course, because we are for the first time we had a session of TechnoCLIL during a sort of lockdown due to the emergency. And so many participants asked for us how to realize activities with their students or their destinies through different e-learning environment, introducing also the distance learning mode. And so we suggested them to share both asynchronous and asynchronous solutions. Of course, we wanted to promote Moodle, that is the most widespread open source e-learning and content management system. And then we also supported them in implementing activities, planning their CLIL lessons in different situations. So comparing also the possibilities of adopting a Google Classroom or Schoology or Edmodo or whatever other situations is considered as powerful. So I would like now to give the floor to Letizia to say what we can suggest, or we suggested our participant as a TechnoCleal implemented in remote teaching.
Yes, thank you, Daniela, and hello, everybody. This is a great pleasure for me as well to be here with you today. Thank you, Vance, thank you, Jane. Yes, so as Daniela was saying, for us, the TechnoCleal was also a way to help our teachers in Italy, but also at a global scale, of course, because TechnoCleal has always been addressing teachers from all over the world, of course. It was a way to help them cope with this emergency. And just some reflections about the lessons learned from the pandemic. That is something that we also collected, of course, from the teachers' feedback. They, especially from our Facebook group, they commented that the TechnoCleal Facebook group, they commented that it had been very helpful to take part in TechnoCleal sessions also in the past, because of course we started long before the pandemic, and so they commented that it was an advantage for them, because they were already somehow skillful and so ready to use technologies for language learning and CLIL. And so just some screenshots that you can see here, how the situation, of course, changed in Italy, but I guess all over the world. So just enhancing the use of technologies, a real revolution. For example, for our teachers and our students as well in Italy, the use of mobile was discouraged, of course. But in 2020, it was the only, in some cases, the only way to reach our students and to the only means for instruction. So. And we also have been working a lot with TechnoCleal on mobile assisted language learning. And the use of technologies, of course, has been also encouraged at international level by the European Commission, by the Council of Europe, long before the pandemic. And for example, the Council recommendation of the for a comprehensive approach to the teaching and learning of languages 2019 has a strong focus on technologies as well. And here you can see the case study on CLIL in Italy, that is considered as an example of excellence in Europe by the Council, by the European Commission and the Council of Europe, because we adopted an inclusive approach, and also because we introduced it as compulsory in all upper secondary schools by a reform law. And also in the Council recommendation, there's a particular focus on the use of technologies, different platforms, different tools for enhancing language learning and CLIL. And so that's what we try to do with the different sessions, and in particular with the 2020-2021. So just now to give the floor to Daniela for some more reflections about the TechnoCleal essentials in distance learning, with particular reference to the pandemic.
Okay, teacher, thank you. So, however, run a CLIL lesson needs to consider some essential aspects. That is, it has to be focused both on content and language, of course. It has to use as much as possible visual literacy, making learning visible. It has to be planned on fostering critical thinking, and in this case, Bloom's taxonomy, especially in his revised version of 2002, is very important because it adds the creation task at the end. That it is one of the competencies of the 21st century. Of course, some strategies are very important, such as scaffolding language, or fostering learning autonomy, and creating and comfortable atmosphere for our students. Basing on this essential, of course, we implemented the idea that is at the back of a very clear lesson, that is the 4 C's introduced by Ducol. This implies considering, of course, the context of reference and selecting the content, activating communication processes, always implying the culture of the target language, and enhancing cognition aspects. So the idea was to start with the right e-learning environment, to activate in a synchronous or asynchronous way, whatever it was, the right communication channels, but exploit the most of the creativity tools and software according to the common European framework references for the language levels of our students, and of course to consider the importance of open educational resources. This is the learning path to build successful CLIL, Techno-CLIL lessons. As you can see here, we can consider the aspect of cognition also related to the Bloom taxonomy. So starting with remembering, and in Oswald mode, trying to make learning significant, to make the input comprehensible in the understanding phase, to find the best ways to improve applying and analyzing processes, and of course in considering the idea of the observer, reflective teacher, evaluate in an authentic way what students were doing. And of course, trying to realize in a creative way a final task. That is always very important. Just to give an idea, the passage from lower order thinking skills to higher order thinking skills, considering the powerfulness of different technologies. And it was important for us to stimulate our teachers to reflect on the fact that technologies shouldn't be used just as they are, because they can be successful for everything. Each technology has its right way to be successful. And so to select clearly what is the best at the right moment. And also, of course, we try to promote what is typical, that is helping the students with visuals. Any kind of visuals can enhance a powerful classroom. So our teachers and our participants were invited to use sketch notes, or to make the best of mind maps and graphic of organizers, just to teach a concept and to encourage learners to show what they know through visual imagery. And this is what they realized in the years. Well, of course, we selected the best. This was a very simple activity for primary school students, realized by our teachers. Another one was a very the cover of some of the best activities, because it gives the idea in a visual way of all the process of the 5 weeks, and then a sort of diary, how some teachers fall in love with Technocleal. That is very gratifying for us. Of course, they also have staying at home. They have the need to get in touch with other communities. So we pushed we pushed them to establish new relationship online in safe environments, just to have both students and teachers communicate and create a sort of social interaction that was also very important for their emotional side. With this tool, they found very nice this Flipgrid. They had the possibility to register and to share their learning path. So it is very simple to use. You just can create a Flipgrid in a very short time, and then it gives you the idea of being a part of a world, a community that is very important nowadays. Another solution that they found very useful was the Wakelet in the classroom. That is something that puts together open educational resources, but also creativity tools, as you can see in this short screen. It is a way to create new learning environments with students or teachers or communities of technoclealers. Another very important aspect was, of course, promoting culture, as it would say, and this is an example of what we propose to our members, to our participants, a platform where you can find the best solution both for professional development, but also for your private and lessons in classes. And another best practice we can say that we had from this course was the possibility to use ThinkLink, that is an hypertextual and hypermedia platform where you can add of course, all together on the same screen, but you can also have hyperlinks with different media to focus on what you do. And now I want to give again the floor to Letizia, because Letizia is a researcher at the Italian National Institute of Documentation and Research. And I think that the contribution of experts helped a lot our Technocleal course, because they gave a theoretical and also as well practical support to the running of the different processes. Letizia, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Daniela. So, of course, as Indire, my institute, we also spread the course about Technocleal. We've always been supporting and spreading, of course, the initiative. And during the lockdown, we've been running a lot of webinars, a lot of sessions for teachers in order to create a really big community of practice of teachers and also school leaders, so that they could help each other and exchange ideas, practices, and different methodologies and different use of tools, but also from more disciplinary perspectives. So also giving insight on how to reshape the curriculum itself, because of course teaching online was not the same thing, is not the same thing as in present. So it was helpful to exchange ideas and practices on how to reshape teaching and learning processes. Just some examples of the most popular web tools that were according to our teachers during the lockdown, the tools that help them simulate a sort of journey. So like a radio garden, that it's using Google Earth, it allows to listen to the radio being broadcast in that particular place. So just clicking on the green dots all over the globe. And so it's a way to foster listening skills and listening comprehension, and at the same time culture. So because you can virtually travel to that place and listen to the radio of the moment. And then of course Google Tool Creator, where you can simulate journeys all over the world. So we cannot travel so much, unfortunately, in this period, and so this is a way to somehow simulate that. Other examples, other web tools like Padlet, TED, and the electronic register, that is the institutional web tool used by our teachers. But the at the beginning, also, I mean, in Italy, we had a sort of bewilderment because the teachers were not so, of course, none was ready to this unprecedented situation. So they just tried to cope with the emergency, what they knew, what they were able to use. But then also through all the different initiatives and courses, and we are still, as Indira, we are running a lot of webinars. They are now more familiar with, especially with the idea of planning. That is important to plan and to, as Daniela was saying, combine synchronous and asynchronous tools according to the specific needs of the specific situation. TED is one of the most popular repositories that was discovered during the lockdown and is still widely used by teachers. And we also used that during our session in 2021 of Technocleal, because TED is really a chestnut of treasure of resources, because you can find so many videos on different topics. And the added value is also the possibility to bring the students in a sort of virtual class and let them discuss about the video itself in a sort of forum, or maybe answer to questions, to quizzes. And here we have TED being presented online, TED online being presented at TESOL last year. So it's of course one of the most popular repositories. Yes, another tool, which is actually a virtual world, and Vance here is a top expert in what has to do with virtual worlds, is Edmondo, which is our virtual world at Indire in Italy for the virtual world for teachers and students. We had a lot of projects and courses with Eike Philip, our national consultants at Indire, for our English village, which is the region, the land that we have in Edmondo devoted to English classes and English activities. So teachers were happy to bring their students here to their avatars, as it was not possible to have physical classes, physical distance due to physical distance and to the lockdown. So it was a way to reshape the social, let's say, social and the virtual environment, having lessons in that virtual world. Some other examples of repositories. This is an European project on CLIL for STEM, or STEAM, which is addressed to STEM or STEAM subjects in CLIL. I'm involved with my university, online university of my institute, which is called IUL, and we are working on this project with some European partners because it's an Erasmus project, and so we are building videos and other activities for CLIL in STEM. Okay, so maybe you can, Daniela, you can just end with our community and our social networks.
Of course, and due to the successful editions of different editions of Technocleal, so we have created a very huge community community of Technoclealers. So if you want to join it, it is on Facebook, and the name is Technocleal for EVO, forever. That is to Technocleal for EVO, but for also forever. And you can follow us on YouTube. There is a YouTube channel called Technocleal. You can join our official Telegram channel too, but you can stay up to date with all the events, just sharing the Technocleal hashtag, or follow us with our private Twitter accounts. So if your references were considered at the beginning, that is this book, Fare CLIL in Digitale, it is in Italian, but with a lot of resources in English, of course, and it is something that can be very stimulating for adopting the CLIL methodology and implementing lessons in the classroom. I think that we have now, we must give now the floor to the new speaker. But thank you for attending our session. And if you want to join the wonderful EVO community, here you have all the different references to join us. Thank you for inviting us again and joining the session, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Vance. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I don't know if anybody has one question they'd like to ask very quickly, but it would have to be a quick one. Don't see anything in the text chat, so maybe I'll let that go, because I don't show that there's another session after this one, but there is some question about, is Halima on AM or PM? Maybe Jane can help me sort that out. Okay, well, let me go ahead and turn the floor over to Mushtaq then. Mushtaq is going to talk to us about intercultural competence. Ready?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
So let me share the screen.
Sure.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So today I'm going to showcase the reflection of our session, Intercultural Competence. This was our first time to offer this session on EVO 2021. Earlier, I was one of the participants for 2 EVO sessions. So first of all, let me give the background to this session. As we know, the importance of intercultural communication or intercultural competence. Okay, so there are a couple of reasons to think about this session. Reason number 1 is my own classroom. I have shared in many platforms that I have a class of number of students. We have a standard class of 100 students, and we get students from all the states and union territories. Some of you must be aware that we have 29 states and 8 union territories in India. So it is completely diverse classroom. So in every classroom, we have mini India, and we have such 13 to 15 different classrooms. So that is one idea. So sometimes it is so difficult for them to interact with each other. Okay, so if South Indian students try to interact with North Indian students, so their language is not common. Sometimes they know one common language, sometimes they do not know. Of course, like English is common, but apart from that, their regional languages and their dialects are completely different. So that is one of the reasons. Second reason is I started teaching cross-cultural communication to our management undergraduates since 2015. The way they did those role play skits in the classroom were amazing. Even that inspired me to do something in intercultural competence area, because they were supposed to represent any one of the countries and they need to enact a role play in the classroom, and that has been highlight of the course. Okay, so all the faculty members as well as students enjoy that activity and session in particular a lot. So that is second reason. Now third reason is, recently again, this when this pandemic happened, then we had to do something in order to upgrade ourselves as a part of continuous professional development. Then I took up some courses on Dr. Nelly's Moodle for Teachers platform, and I must have completed 3 to 4 courses, okay, since April. And in one of the courses we were supposed to develop a course. So the course I developed was intercultural competence. So again, I'm very much interested in employability skills or 21st century skills, and we cannot forget intercultural competence. Okay, whenever we think of employability skills or soft skills or 21st century skills, or you can call it global skills. So that is one more reason. So basically, this course was designed somewhere in August 2020. So I took a lot of time to design this course, and apart from that, I consulted many what you say competent consultant in the world. Okay, so I do not claim that I am intercultural competence expert or maybe consultant. Okay, so in order to learn from others, so I consulted a couple of consultant in the world. So one of them is Yulia. So she's present now. Okay, so she was the first person I contacted, and I'm really grateful to her. So she took out some time. Okay, she has very hectic schedule. Now she's from Ukraine, but she works in Germany and she works for a number of universities. So she took out some time and she guided me. Okay, this is how you can go about the course. Apart from that, then again there is one more expert in this area, that is Dolan Gupta. Okay, so she has worked for one of the multinational companies, that is TCS, for many years. Even she guided me thoroughly. Then Kirsten, again she's from Germany. She works in number of countries. So these are the people who guided me. And of course, without Nelly's support, okay, because this is the platform she has given us. Otherwise, I was completely blank about Moodle. Okay, so I must have heard about Moodle, but I didn't know about Moodle much. Okay, so once I took up number of courses over there, then I understood all the major learning management systems. Otherwise, it was just a term for me. Okay, so this is the background actually. So this is what you can see. Okay, so this is I transferred, then this is converted into, so I was just thinking of, okay, doing something, okay, as a part of continuous profession development. But we cannot limit to only professional continuous profession development. Even we need to share with others too. So this is how this idea came into picture. Okay, so here are my co-moderators of this session. Patricia Andrada, she's from Argentina, and of course, Dr. Nelly Deutsch. So without her support, it wouldn't have been possible. Okay, she has given us the right platform where we can integrate or add number of activities and resources. Okay, so even no one can deny that Moodle is one of the finest learning management systems in the world. Okay, so these are my moderators, and they helped me a lot in this process. Now, when it comes to our session, so the session was for 5 weeks. So in this 5 weeks, so we have different units. Okay, one is overview of the session, in which we have just given the brief. Okay, what is the importance of intercultural communication? Okay, even we are aware, like we deal with diverse classroom. Okay, for example, if you are working for international school or university, then you will find number of nationalities in the classroom. You will find number of students from different nations. Similarly, if you are working in same country, maybe you will find people from different cultures, different background. Even I have given you that example, right? So though I work in my own country, but I deal with a number of cultures. So that is the thing. So all these things were mentioned in overview, and the details of moderators are given in the overview. So number of participants registered were 95, and active members were 35, and proactive members were 35, and number of countries participated was 21, and the platform that we use, as I mentioned earlier, it was Moodle, Moodle for Teachers by Dr. Nelly. Okay, so it was for asynchronous activities, and for synchronous activities and synchronous meetings, we used Google Meet. So we didn't find any problem in any one of these platforms. Then whenever we record any meeting or our guest talks, okay, so we used to publish on YouTube. So we used YouTube frequently. Then in order to showcase and reflect, okay, the learning or takeaways from all these sessions, all these lectures, so we provided the link of Padlet. So all our participants have updated on Padlet wall. Then in order to post something using audio visual, so again we have provided the link of Flipgrid. So these are the frequently used platforms in our session. So if you look at the objectives, so these were the objectives of our session: demonstrate openness and curiosity to understand or to know our own and other diverse cultures. Then communicate respectfully and appropriately with others from different cultural backgrounds. Then to understand and appreciate your own culture or multicultural uh, uh, things. Then demonstrate an awareness of your role and responsibilities, okay, within the society. Then understand your local and global roles with regard to national and international issues. So looking at these objectives or learning outcomes, so we realize that we accomplish all these objectives at the end of the session. So maybe if you could go through the activities and the responses posted by the participants, so even you will realize, okay, so we have achieved or accomplished all these learning objectives. So week one was of introduction, where they had to introduce themselves. Okay, so one of the activities was locate yourself. Okay, apart from introduce yourself, then they had to talk about their name, their country, their hobbies, their interests, then which profession they belong to, or what do they do as a professional. Then apart from that, they need to locate. So again, we have created one, what is that? This link, okay, Padlet link, where they had to locate. So you can see all these countries, participating countries over here. Then we had synchronous meeting throughout the session. So we have 5 weeks. So we have 5 synchronous meeting. So 2 were meetings and 3 were guest talks. Then support forum was provided for each and every week. Okay, so we used to address their concerns. If they have any question for that particular week, so they used to post their question and we used to answer. So even my co-moderators were quite active responding to those questions. And week 2 was cultural being. So in this week, they had to explore and share their own culture. So in this activity, we have given them some aspects of culture, like religion, sports, languages spoken, then pastime, then uh, a different, what do you say, art and music and all of that stuff. Then again, for week 2, we had guest talk over here. Okay, mastering intercultural competence by Christian. So he's from Germany, but he works in US, and he's called as the culture guy. I hope you must be knowing him if you are interested in, say, cultural area. Then again, in week 2, we had support forum. So apart from explore and share, we have we had one more activity, that is high context or low context. So it was very simple activity where they had to answer 10 questions in the form of yes and no. Okay, so based on number of yes and no, they could identify whether they belong to high context culture or low context culture. So basically, if you look at all these activities from week 1 to week 5, so they were quite engaging. Okay, so there was not much involvement of the facilitator. Okay, so anyone, I mean, once you join the session, you can take up that course at your own. So everything is self-explanatory. Even if you follow the instructions given on the session, that is more than sufficient. So all the activities were highly engaging, and there was huge scope for collaboration. Okay, so they can learn from each other. Okay, that is what they were encouraged. Okay, once you post your message, once you post your reflections or learnings, then you have to respond to at least 2 to 3 members. So that was the one of the criteria to earn the badges as well as certificates. So again, that was one of the highlights of our session. So for every week, okay, they could earn the badge. Okay, and once they complete all the required activities, then they would definitely earn the certificate at the end of the session. So that was all about week number 2. Now in week 3, again, there was very interesting activity. Even you would love that if time permits. Okay, I'll show you one of the examples of this activity. So this is the activity where they had to identify their cultural intelligence question. Okay, so in the form of cognitive CQ, physical CQ, and motivation or emotional CQ. So again, there were 5 to 6 questions, and they had to just record their response in the form of 1 to 5. So again, that scale was mentioned over there, and there was some simple formula to it. And once they get the result, okay, so once they get the result, then they can see, okay, what is their cognitive CQ, what is their physical and emotional CQ. So again, I mean, they liked very much. Okay, so if you ask me, okay, what are the things they liked most about the session? So one is these interactive activities, engaging activities, and number 2 is guest talk, because they liked the guest talks very much, because they could interact with them, they could ask some questions. Okay, so these were the highlights of our session. Then apart from that, we posted some of the great TED talks on in this area. Again, I consulted some of the competent people in this area. Okay, so after consulting them, so we have identified some some research articles, then some TED talks, some YouTube videos, and we just put them there. Okay, and what they were supposed to do, what participants were supposed to do was they had to go through that materials, authentic materials, and they had to reflect on it. And of course, they can share with others. So similarly, that is what we did in how culture drives behaviors. So it was again one of the TED Talks. Then again, we had a synchronous meeting for week 3, okay, and followed by support forum. Then again in week 4, okay, so we had this wonderful guest talk. Even this guest is very much available over here, Dr. Yulia, okay, from Germany. So in this week, basically they had to team up. Okay, they had that choice. Okay, they can make their final presentation in a team, or they could do it individually. So they had that choice. Sometimes due to these different time zones, it is not possible to work together. So that's why they were given these choices. Okay, they can team up and work in a team of a small team of say 5 to 6 members, or maybe they can do it independently if their time zone doesn't permit them. Okay, so that was something for final presentation. Then discover and discuss. So in this activity, again, I requested some of my friends, okay, so who work in different countries. Okay, one is from Jamaica, one is from South Africa, then one is from Morocco, one is from Greece. And I identify some important aspects of culture, and I ask them to just represent your country, okay, considering those aspects. And again, they were quite supportive, and they could record their video, and we published it, and we put it on the session. And based on that, again, after going through those videos, okay, they had to share their own culture with respect to that aspect of the cultural dimension. Then again, there was discussion topics were given. Okay, number of articles were shared so that they can discuss and share with each other. And yes, as I told you, now this was the guest lecture on cultural paradigms and intercultural communication. So it was highly engaging session or guest talk, I would say. Then the final week, that is reflections. So learning doesn't complete without showcasing or reflecting or sharing our takeaways. Okay, and these are the things we learned from like experts like you and expert like Nelly Deutsch. Okay, so if you look at any of her session or the courses on Moodle for Teachers, so she strongly believes in collaborative learning and showcasing reflections. Okay, so based on her this effective techniques, again we integrated this reflections in week 5, and again we use Padlet wall to showcase and reflect their learning for the session. Then we had added, again it was very obvious for for all the participants that they had to participate in final participant survey. So then TESOL feedback, they had to record their video on Flipgrid. And then again for week 5 also we had a guest talk, okay, by Dr. George Simons. Now, George Simons is a creator of Diversify. Diversify is a very wonderful cultural game session. Okay, and he has more than 40 to 50 year of experience, if I'm not wrong. Okay, so he's I would say like pro in cultural thing actually. So again, I'm so grateful to him too. Okay, so again, he could address the gathering, our participants, and the topic was very interesting. And finally, we had support forum for week 5 too. So this is what we did. Now let me take you through this Padlet wall. I hope we have some time. Yeah, we have some time. Okay, so this is what our participants did at the end of the session. So sometimes they have posted their reflections, learnings, takeaways. Even they have added some additional material, some resources. Okay, they have shared the feedback too. So it is very colorful Padlet wall. Okay, so they have added number of resources. Then they posted their messages, then feedback. So this is what they did. Okay. So this was all about our session. Now again, I have just taken uh, some of the screenshots. Okay, what participants think or feel about our course or our session. So Maria from Greece. So maybe you can just read it. I don't know, my cursor is not working. That's why I'm not able to move this part on right hand side. Anyway, maybe you can just read this.
What are you trying to do?
No, this window where I can see the panel, right? Participants panel. So I'm not able to move the cursor. Anyway, I mean, I'm almost done, so there is no problem.
Maybe you could stop sharing and start again. Might help.
Okay, I think this is fine. I have taken just two write-ups from two of our participants. So this is one of them, and another is this one. So she's again one of the active participants on this session, and she's eagerly waiting for the next season. And of course, we are going to offer this session next year too. Okay, but yes, I mean, there are some takeaways from this session. Since this was our first experience, we realized that okay, so if we are a team of 2, so it is little difficult. And there are number of takeaways or reflections for me from professional development course that you offered. Really, actually it opened my eyes. Okay, the way you handle the PD. Okay, so every week used to be handled by one of the resource person. That was great idea, in fact. So on similar line, okay, we'd like to take some people on board, at least 5 to 7 people, so that they can handle that particular week, and there won't be much burden, right? Because if I look at my what do you say schedule, you won't believe. Like since we started this online education, so my average what do you say workload, course workload is only 6 per what do you say academic year. Okay, so I'm supposed to handle only 6 courses in one academic year. So you would be surprised to know that in this academic year, when we experienced this horrible pandemic, I handled 13 courses workload. So it is more than double. So you can imagine, I mean, just doing your regular job, and we didn't have any break. So there was no excuse. Okay, so actually our culture is like corporate culture, and I think that is something good, right? We need to set the right examples for students. So they need to be flexible, they need to be adaptable. Okay, so you might come across such kind of difficult situations. It doesn't mean that you need to stop working, right? Okay, show must go on, right? So that is what we believe in. And we work 36 5 days, right? So there are no vacations, there are no holidays, and that's good, I think. Okay, so as long as, okay, you are handling such kind of students, so that is absolutely good. So that those are the takeaways. So maybe we can work on like number of, what do you say, facilitators or moderators. Okay, so we have already identified some of the facilitated for this session, and we are going to offer this session next year too. That is one thing. And second thing is, we are planning to come up with like game session. Okay, maybe it would be something different. Okay, it would be engaging, right, where you can come together, you can discuss your cultural dimensions, and you can share your experiences. So again, that is one of the ideas, right? So that was it. I mean, this is how we did our session. So yeah, thank you so much for attending. And yeah, so I request you to ask the questions if you have any. Thank you.
Yes. Can you stop the screen share? Then
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
get a
sure,
gallery
sure,
view.
sure, sure.
Thank you for that excellent presentation. We got a little bit of a late start due to the timer not allowing people in. It's supposed to allow you in 5 minutes early, but my wife couldn't get in, Jane couldn't get in, and even though we went almost up to the hour. So because of that, we got a slightly late start. And also, if anybody has any questions you'd like to ask of the speakers, we'd be happy to take your questions. We have a few minutes for that.
Yes, please. If you have any question, please feel free.
One question about intercultural competence. There's intercultural, our various cultures are usually seen as a very positive thing in language classes and by English language teachers, but in some parts of the world it's seen as a negative thing. Did you encounter any negativity, or to turn that around, did your session help in any way to counter the negativity that people in other parts of the world sometimes feel about different cultures?
Yes, so maybe again it depends on country to country. So again, I'm active participants on diversity cultural game session. So recently we were discussing about our Indian culture. Okay, now if the country is small in size, I mean in terms of population, so maybe you won't find many differences over there, right? So maybe there are a number of things that can be generalized. But the country like India, okay, so like for every 20 to 30 miles the dialect gets changed, and you have hundreds of different dialects. So maybe in such cases, okay, so generalizing something or making our what you say perception about something would be completely difficult, right? So if you perceive about something, so that could be completely opposite in some other state. Okay, but if you have a country where like you have got limited population, so maybe we can generalize it. So your perception and others perception could be same, but in such diverse countries or diverse cultures, it is very difficult to generalize the things. I think that is
Okay.
what I have experienced. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Okay.
another question in the chat. Yulia was asking, what's your learning from this learning journey, Mushtaq?
Okay, so great question. Thank you for that question, Yulia, and thank for your question, Vance, too. Okay, so my takeaways or my learning is first of all, even I could clarify my concepts. Okay, first thing. Okay, so yeah, I learned a lot from this session. Even I could understand different aspects of cultural communication, intercultural communication. Second thing is, even I was not aware, like we have ESP, we have BE, we have ESL, but I was not aware that there is one more field called intercultural competence, like consultant. Okay, so and we have a number of people there, they're so great, and they helped a number of organizations and countries and institutions. Okay, so to make their team work in diverse teams, because as we are aware, like if we come together, if we have diverse teams, we do better. How? I mean, we would be more creative, we would be more good at critical thinking. Okay, so these are the things which help us to enhance our productivity. Okay, so that is one thing. And second thing, yes, I mean, there is no substitute for collaborative learning or any kind of collaborative work. Okay, so this has been very obvious in corporate culture. So if you look at any employer, okay, they always want their employees to work in a team. Okay, so we always discuss about this, but we can realize when we work or start working in a team. So that is what we have I have realized. Yeah, though I have worked in a corporate culture for 5 to 7 years, but again, even in academic setup too, if you work together, okay, if you learn together, if you share together, you can do wonders to the society. I think these are my key takeaways. And yes, I could learn a lot of technology, especially education technology. And I mean, this whole credit goes to Dr. Nelly. And this professional development experience was completely different. Okay, so I personally thank like EVO 21 coordination team for this wonderful opportunity. Okay, so because again, that was something great. That PD session was something great, and I learned a lot from it. Okay, I think, yeah, maybe, yeah, these are the key takeaways or learnings from
Thank
this session.
you.
I might ask the same question of Letizia and Daniela. And in particular, I'm curious because they had to incorporate in their session, they had to adapt it. They've done it for many years. I might have asked them, well, how did they change their session over the years? But it's quite obvious that they encountered pandemic and teachers having to teach in the new normal, whatever that is, and adapt their teaching and adapt their CLIL. And so what did you learn that you didn't know before, or how did you improve your professional development in the course of teaching or facilitating your students, or what did they learn?
Well, as I can answer, I say that we always improve our professional profile when we meet new people. It always a challenge for us to discover. Just starting for creating a new community of people, it is something that let you involved in something that is, as I said before, very, very challenging, because we have a lot of followers. We can say that because there are people that follow us each edition, edition after edition, and they always expect from us something more. This year was the pandemic, and we were ready to face this challenge because we knew that participants wanted something different. But through the years, we and also thanks to our incredible collaboration. As you see, Letizia and I are always together running courses and sharing whatever is it is an opportunity for us when we can give our contribution, or we can get a lot from other people's contribution. And we know that each year we had to make it different, even if the CLIL methodology is that and always the same, because it has some fixed essential to consider. Of course, there is a changing of technologies, a changing scenario where technologies and the CLIL can be implemented. And so we have to study a lot and make research before implementing any new edition of a course. And this helps us a lot. And then we meet new people, and any different context has new different needs. And so it is something that we have to improve. So it is something that just tests our flexibility to change the situation according to new changing scenarios. I don't know if Letizia wants to add something.
Yeah, no, you've been exhausted. Just to say, to confirm that it's always a learning journey for us as well, because yes, we knew we meet new people, and then it's also enriching to learn from each other, from them, and then because we encourage, and it's something that lasts the all day, all the year. I mean, apart from EVO session, the specific 5 weeks, because through our Facebook group, we always, share our events, our other initiatives, and the teachers share their own initiatives, their own webinars, because they are running their own webinars in this period. So it's also mutual learning, and this is something that, and this is exciting, because it's just something that lasts all the year. And then we, of course, looking forward to the next EVO session.
I actually have another question for Letizia and Daniela. I put down the question in the chat, and as I mentioned earlier, right now, Taiwan, we're going for a bilingual nation by 2030, and we're really pushing it. And we're pouring a lot of money in inviting foreign language teachers into Taiwan. This year, Fulbright has helped us recruit 120 American scholars in Taiwan to help out our CLIL classes. And our local teachers were providing professional developments in bilingual education to help them get prepared and to get certified for teaching bilingually. But one of the questions that we ran into, and you mentioned in your slides that in Italy, it is required of a teacher to have a C1 level. And, do you have, is this like, are teachers on their own in terms of English language improvement there, or do you offer professional development for that area as well? And secondly, like I asked in the chat, I noticed that you started in secondary school. And I think for secondary schools, the contents are even more difficult. And the subjects, for example, science, mathematics, in PE or different areas, they need the subject knowledge and also the language for it. And I was wondering if you train different subject teachers, batches differently, like separately, and or do you group them together and ask them to come and learn about CLIL? How did you approach that?
Okay, I can start, and then Daniela can integrate. So first of all, it's good news that you're investing a lot in in bilingual education, and of course, as I said, as my institute is the National Institute for Research. If if we can, Daniela and I can help, maybe from distance, of course, because
yes, we'd like to invite you both.
Yeah, but it could be. I mean, we would be happy to give our small contribution if relevant. As for the training in Italy, so there are 2 different pathways. One is language, and so C1 is the target level, and one is methodology, CLIL methodology, and this is delivered by universities. Is a course, a methodological course on CLIL delivered by universities. For language, well, the Italian Italian Ministry of Education provides different funds for training. So teachers can also take advantage of this different opportunities for training. And we also have, teachers also have a bonus, a year bonus of a certain amount of euros they can spend in training, for example. So this is something they can do on their own, or maybe using their, these opportunities and these courses provided by the Ministry of Education. And that, but it's essential that they need to have the two different pathways, the C1 and the methodological course. In the methodological course, they are trained all together for some parts, because it's considered as a transversal methodology. So the pillars are yes, transversal for any subjects, but also because in Italy we have the choice. I mean, schools, apart from technical and technical schools, they need to deliver CLIL in the field of specialization, the subject which is the specific, like mechanics or engineering or what else. In the other schools, they are free to choose the subject to deliver in CLIL, and so they are trained all together, except for some hours, some specific training where they are divided into STEM and the humanities subject. I don't know if Daniela wants to add something about that.
Yes, I wanted to say that considering that CLIL initiative was a successful one, the Ministry of Education, even if it is compulsory only in secondary school, is piloting some experiences also in primary and lower secondary school. So I think that you were wondering if we start at the beginning of the school year, so just at the secondary school. I say that it is compulsory in a secondary school, but of course, yes, yeah, it's your
that
choice.
is very interesting, because in secondary schools it's not as successful here in Taiwan, and the primary school students loved it, but the secondary schools, because they had to take high stakes tests to get into high school and college, they really don't like to have courses in English because they're being tested in Mandarin. So thank you so much for sharing. I'd like to invite you on a webinar for Taiwanese.
Pleasure.
Well, thanks to all the presenters.